I was 17 years old the summer I learned that love could break you and heal you in the same breath. What happened between June and August that year changed the way I understood my own heart forever, and by the end of this story, you're going to feel it too. Stay with me till the end, because the last 2 minutes of this video will hit you harder than you expect. But before we go back to that summer, hit that subscribe button right now, because stories like this one are exactly what this channel is built on. Drop a comment telling me about your first love. I read every single one. And if this story moves you, share it with someone who needs to remember what it felt like to fall for the first time. Okay, let's go back. It was the last week of May. School had just let out, and the air smelled like cut grass and freedom. I didn't know it yet, but in 7 days my whole world was going to shift on its axis. Her name was Summer. I know you're already thinking it's too perfect, too much like a movie title, but that's exactly what made it feel like fate. A girl named Summer, arriving in my life in June and leaving before September. It sounds like a story someone made up. I promise you, it wasn't. She moved into the house at the end of my street. I remember the exact moment I saw her. She was carrying a cardboard box, too heavy for her arms, and it slipped, and books spilled across the sidewalk. I ran over without thinking. That's the first mistake. First love always make you stop thinking, and you start feeling. We spent that whole afternoon organizing her books onto shelves that didn't exist yet. She talked with her hands. She laughed at her own jokes before she even finished telling them. And every single thing about her felt like a secret I'd been let in on. By the end of that day, she looked at me and said something I'll never forget. "You're going to be someone important in my life. I can just tell." I laughed it off. But some part of me, the part that still believed in signs, knew she was right. For the next few weeks, we were inseparable. Bike rides until the streetlights came on. Late-night phone calls where neither of us wanted to be the one to hang up first. Inside jokes that made no sense to anyone else. The kind of connection that feels rare, even when you're too young to know what rare even means. But here's the thing about first love. It never stays simple for long. There's always a wrinkle, a complication, a ticking clock hidden somewhere in the background. And ours was hiding in plain sight the entire time. One night in July, we were sitting on her roof, legs dangling over the edge, watching the stars do absolutely nothing interesting, but somehow it felt like the most interesting night of my life. That's when she told me something that changed everything. "My family's only here for the summer. We're moving again in September. Dad's job." I remember the silence that followed. It wasn't awkward. It was heavy, like the air itself understood what those words meant for us. I asked her why she didn't tell me sooner. And she said, "Because I didn't want it to change anything between us. Not yet." That single sentence planted a seed of anxiety in my chest that would grow for the rest of the summer. Every laugh, every late night, every stolen glance suddenly had an invisible countdown attached to it. We didn't talk about the move again for weeks. We buried it, pretended the calendar wasn't moving forward. We filled our days with more adventures, like if we packed enough memories into each moment, time itself might slow down out of respect. We had our first kiss on the 4th of July, fireworks exploding behind us like the universe was applauding. It felt like the beginning of something enormous. But deep down, we both knew it might also be the beginning of the end. August arrived faster than either of us wanted, and with it came arguments neither of us expected. Not about anything real, about nothing really. Small fights that were actually about the big unspoken thing neither of us could say out loud. "I don't want you to leave." One night she asked me directly, "What happens to us when I go?" I didn't have an answer, not one that felt true and comforting at the same time, so I said nothing. And that silence hurt her more than any wrong answer could have. 2 weeks before she was set to leave, something happened that I still think about to this day. She showed up at my door late at night, eyes red, and said, "I think we should stop pretending this doesn't have an ending." My heart dropped into my stomach. I thought she was breaking up with me before we'd even really started. But she wasn't. She was doing something braver. She said, "I don't want to spend our last 2 weeks being scared of the goodbye. I want to spend them loving you, like there's no ending at all." I didn't have words. I just held her. Those final 2 weeks became the most vivid, technicolor memories of my entire adolescence. We did everything we'd been too scared to do before, because fear of losing something eventually turns into fuel for living it fully. We watched the sunrise from the hood of my car. We wrote letters to our future selves and buried them in a box under the old oak tree behind her house, promising to dig them up one day. We danced in her kitchen to a song neither of us can even remember the name of now, but we remember exactly how it felt. Every single day felt like borrowed time, and somehow that made it more precious, not less. The night before she left, we sat on that same rooftop where she first told me the truth. Neither of us said much. We didn't need to. Some silences say more than any sentence ever could. Finally, she turned to me and said, "I'm not going to say goodbye. I'm going to say, thank you for being my first." I asked her, "First what?" She smiled, and it was the saddest, most beautiful smile I've ever seen. First, everything. The next morning, the moving truck pulled away at 9 a.m. sharp. I stood at the end of the driveway, and she rolled down the window as the car passed. She didn't say anything, she just pressed her palm against the glass. I did the same on my side of the air, an invisible handprint meeting an invisible handprint. And then she was gone. Just like that. Like summer always is, beautiful and brief and over before you're ready. For weeks afterward, I felt like I was grieving something that wasn't even a death. Just an ending. I'd walk past her old house and expect to see her in the window. I'd hear a song on the radio and feel my chest tighten. First love doesn't just disappear when the person leaves, it lingers in every corner of your ordinary life. We tried texting for a while. Slowly, the messages got shorter. Life pulled us in different directions, the way it always does. Not because we stopped caring, but because distance has a quiet, patient way of doing what heartbreak alone cannot. But here's the part of the story I haven't told anyone until now. 3 years later, I went back to that old oak tree. I don't even know what made me do it, some pull I couldn't explain. I dug beneath it, and there it was, the box, still there, untouched. Inside was the letter I wrote to my future self that summer. But there was something else in the box too, something I hadn't put there. A second letter, addressed to me, in her handwriting. She must have gone back before she left the state for good, sometime I never knew about, and added it without ever telling me. I sat down right there under that tree and opened it. It said, "If you're reading this, it means some part of you never stopped wondering about that summer. I want you to know something: you weren't just my first love. You were the reason I believe love is real at all. Wherever you are now, I hope you're loved the way you loved me. Thank you for being my first everything." I sat under that tree for almost an hour, just holding that letter, feeling 17 again. I never saw her again after that summer. I don't know where she is now, or who she's become. But some stories don't need a reunion to matter. Some stories exist simply to teach you what your heart is capable of, so that when the right love finally does stay, you already know exactly how deeply you can feel. Summer was my first love story. And even now, when the season rolls around each year, I still feel 17 for just a moment. If this story touched something in you, make sure you're subscribed for more stories like this one every week. Comment below and tell me who was your first love, and where are they now? And if you know someone who needs to feel 17 again today, share this with them. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next story.